Hi there, welcome to my channel. If you're new, I am Christy. In today's video, I'm going to do cook what you preserve in this video. So I have been trying to share some of my inspiration with many of you who are new gardeners or canners or seasoned ones. I know it can kind of get a little bland sometimes when you have your staples, and sometimes it's nice to have a little inspiration when you're bringing baskets of produce in and you're looking for ideas of what you can do with it. I'm gonna stop rambling and I'll let you check out the videos. It is canning season, and sometimes that means you're in the kitchen all day and you have a big mess and you don't feel like cooking and it's going to take you a bit to clean up. You don't want to think about what to make for dinner. So this is why I like to do fast food. I do big batches every couple months of meatballs and hamburger patties. Tonight I decided to take some meatballs that I had froze in the freezer. I have like a whole bunch of these in freezer bags, but these ones were still out on a tray and I just grabbed them to put into my quick cooker. So I added a little bit of water into the bottom of my quick cooker reservoir, and then I just dropped the meatballs right on in there, frozen. And oh my goodness, it's such a mess in here. I'm so embarrassed. So embarrassed, but this is life. This is life when you have a busy life. So anyway, I just put the meatballs on frozen and I cooked them on high. I think it was for 40 minutes is what I ended up doing it for. And yeah, it was awesome. I had a few pieces of squash that came in that were ripe. There was just these small batches of things that I didn't have enough to preserve, and I didn't have anything going in the freeze dryer. I don't like freezing squash. So I decided, you know what, let's make some pasta and use up these little squashes that I just harvested. This is a patty pan one. Or I can't remember the name of it. I got the seeds from West Coast Seeds here in Canada. They grow so well. They're actually doing the best out of all of my squash this year. I just only had one that was ripe today or big enough today to harvest. So this is what I did. I also had a little zucchini that I thought this would be great. One of my hacks is I kind of knew that I was going to use the leftovers from tonight's dinner to make school and work lunches for the weeks ahead. Now I need to make 2 lunches per day for my family members, so that's 10 lunches per week, sometimes 12 lunches, depending if my husband works weekends. And so this is a great way to kind of get a variety of lunches that are in the freezer that I could just, like, my family members can either pull out and put it in their bag when they go to work and school, or I can pull them out in the beginning of the week and put them in the fridge, and then they just take them to work. I also try to make things that are good both cold and warm, simply because my husband not always has access to heat up his food working out in the bush, whereas my son, he has access to a microwave but often just doesn't use it. It's always important to hydrate. This is something that I have been trying to really be better at least a couple times a day, having lemon water to hydrate. These are natural electrolytes and they're really, really good for you. So be sure to hydrate every day with natural electrolytes, especially during canning season. Look, it's the onion delivery service. Did you run for that onion?
Yeah.
Yeah? You must really love onions.
Yep. Especially red ones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job. So Chaz ran out to the farm office where I have my onions that I just recently pulled. They're curing out there, and he grabbed one so I could bulk up this recipe even more. So to start this off, I'm going to get some onions and the squash cooking. I would like these to be soft in this recipe for dinner. I like to cook these down, and it's pretty simple because you just kind of get it sauteing, get it going, and then just put the lid on it, and I can basically do other things while this is cooking and softening up. So to me, this is not something I have to babysit. I had a couple of really they weren't quite overripe yet, but they were getting there. These are orange Roma tomatoes. This is my first year growing this particular variety, and I really like them. They are such a nice tomato. They're not overly juicy. They're more of like a saucer tomato because they're a Roma, but they have a very nice flavor, and they produce very, very well. They're one of my better producers that I have growing outside or inside, sorry, in the greenhouse. I very much like these, and the skin is not tough. Like I was expecting it to be much tougher, but it's actually really nice. I did notice that where the sun doesn't touch it, it does stay a little bit greener for a little longer, but these are very, very ripe and very, very good. They're not overly juicy, which I absolutely love that, and they're very intense flavored because I haven't been watering the plants that they're on. So I wanted to add this in just to kind of freshen it up into the canned pasta sauce that I'm making or heating up in this recipe. This is the best part. I have so many veggies in my pasta sauce, and then I can bulk it up even more by adding more fresh ones as they're slowly coming in into the garden. Because sometimes I have one or two that are ripe, and what do you do with them? I don't want a tomato sandwich. I'll incorporate it into my meal so that I can extend the bulk of that, and I can extend how much food I'm getting out of it and extend how much we're consuming that by putting it in the freezer as kind of like freezer meals. I decided I wanted to try this freeze-dried garlic. Now these were bits and pieces of garlic, like they were smaller ones that I didn't want to cure. So I actually peeled all of them and I freeze-dried them. So we're going to try this and see how they rehydrate. While that's reconstituting, I thought I'd just give this zucchini a stir. And it's starting to soften up. It smells really, really nice. And as a side, while that's cooking down, I harvested, in a previous video, I had harvested some of my lettuce, and I showed you how I preserve it in the fridge for, up to a couple weeks. So basically I washed it and I put it in a bag in paper towel, in a Ziploc bag and paper towel, and put it in the fridge. And so it's washed up, it's ready to go. All I got to do is shred it up or tear it up, and then I can just make a salad out of it, and that's what I'm doing. To the squash, I decided I wanted to season it a little bit more, and I just have this Clubhouse brand of seasoning for vegetables, and so I just kind of gave it a really good heavy seasoning of that and stirred it up. It smells really good. That is like, usually if I was just gonna be having like meatballs plain, I would just have this as a side. I love, love, love that seasoning with squash. I also then seasoned it with some pepper. I don't think I added any salt. Maybe I did, just pepper. Usually I don't add salt at this point with squash because then it just makes all the liquid really, really come out of it really quickly and makes it a little soggy. I usually add the salt just before I put the sauce in so that it can pull it out into the sauce and reduce. But this is some garlic or onion powder, and I think I added both of them in there, just a little bit more flavor. I love flavor. I don't like bland food. This is some dried basil because my actual basil, I let it go to flower, and I'm cutting that and giving it to my florist is what I've been doing with that. So I am using the dry stuff. It's all good. I would just dry my fresh stuff anyway and use it the same way. So it doesn't always have to be fresh. It'll all taste good. Okay, now I'm making Caesar salad, so I wanted to use some bacon, but I don't want to cook bacon, and I have cooked bacon in the freezer. This bacon is still from last year. I don't know if many of you recall, I did a bulk food order in October of 2021. This bacon is still from that order. I got cases of bacon for like $30 or $35. There's a lot of bacon. And so I had 2 cases. I'm just working on the second case now. And so I like to cook it up and then put it in bags so I can grab a couple pieces out and make a quick salad and have that in there just to add more ingredients and some more flavor. It's one way to get my husband to eat salad is to put bacon on it. And then it's a sure thing. I know he will consume it. But other than that, there's not much else that'll bribe him to eat it. So I am not a machine, and I don't always do everything homemade. I had some Caesar salad dressing in the fridge that really needs to be used up. It's been in there. It's not expired or close to expiring, but it's annoying me that it's in my fridge still. I have this thing in my head that I have to use up these ingredients so they stay the freshest as possible and taste the best. And I don't like leaving stuff in the fridge for a really long time. I'm trying to break the habit of letting that happen. So I put some salad dressing, store-bought Caesar salad dressing in here that was from something previous. This is basically a pantry challenge. Use up what you got. This was from, something that we had an event or a family gathering or whatever, and I made Caesar for it, and it was left over. I think it may have actually accidentally got put in my cooler when we went on a trip or something like that. And I don't know where the Caesar dressing come from. I don't think I bought it. But anyway, I added it to the salad. It doesn't matter. Ramble. And I added the bacon. And I added some Parmesan cheese that I also bought in that food haul, bulk food haul order that I bought last year in October 2021. I'm still using that cheese, that Parmesan cheese, and I just bought a big bulk bag of it. It goes a long way. I keep it in the freezer. It's awesome. So this is the garlic that I was reconstituting, and it was starting to soften up, but I have absolutely zero patience. I'm trying to get stuff done today. I want this to be hands off. Just get everything in the pot so I can get other things done, like watering in the greenhouse. And so I just chopped it up and I threw it into the squash mixture, and it was fine. It softened up completely while it was in there cooking. There was no hard bits of garlic anywhere. It actually was really good and such a good flavor. So this is my pasta sauce that I had cooked up. I have zucchini in this pasta sauce. I don't have a recipe for it. I just throw a bunch of garden vegetables in the big roaster and I let it cook. This sauce cooked like for, I think it was 14 hours, and it reduced a lot. So it's a really nice, rich, thick, very, very deep, lots of deep flavors. There's lots of garlic and lots of onion and squash and like all the different types of tomatoes that I'm growing. It has a very good flavor. And so then I added the fresh tomatoes that I diced up, and look at that, it just bulked this up from basically having that small jar, like that quart-sized jar, to like, look at how much food there is here and how far that can stretch just from vegetables that I pulled out of the garden, that, little batches of things. This is really what it's about for me. Now these are egg noodles. They're not eggs, they're egg noodles. I noticed there's 6 minutes left on the quick cooker. I was outside for a while I was doing this, so 5 minutes left. The buzzer went off and the meatballs are done, perfectly done. They were actually a little bit, I could have probably gone like 8 or 10 minutes less. But yeah, they looked really, really good. Cooked up perfectly. All the grease drained out in this little basket, and away we go. I'm going to dump these right into our pasta sauce and let that all cook together and go back out and finish doing some chores, watering some animals and feeding some chickens. But my goodness, look at all that food. Like, this is going to be enough for us tonight and many lunches. And it just the same amount of work, and I used up vegetables. The way I see it is like you preserve food, but then you just keep on, it's sort of like this investment that keeps paying forward for me. And I don't look at anything as wasteful. I'm always looking for resourcefulness. I am cooking my egg noodles. These are made from my own hands. They're made with organic flour, and the meatballs are ready to they're all warmed up through together. And yeah, that was dinner for us. My eyes were really hungry that night. I didn't eat all my pasta. I actually saved some for the next day, but it was so delicious. Homemade noodles from my grass-fed, grass-raised chickens, homemade everything. The only thing that was bought in this meal was the Parmesan cheese, the bacon, and the salad dressing. That's it. Everything else was home-raised, homegrown, and I was able to have lots of leftovers and make multiple lunches for my guys. And I'll show you that later in this video, but we're going to go skip forward once we're done drooling over how good this looks. Oh, I want this like for supper now again. Speaking of egg noodles and free-range chickens, having free-range chickens is an Easter egg hunt every day. Really, chickens? Really? This isn't even our hay wagon. It's the neighbors. So it's the next day, and today I'm tasked with something in the flower farm that is a little special to me. Today I'm tasked with harvesting some sunflowers for a memorial for someone who is very near and dear to my heart. My florist is working on a memorial piece for a service that's happening, and it was just this was a bit of an emotional experience for me to go walk through the garden and find sunflowers that could justify how important this person was to our family. I think I realized this day, having this flower farm and having this lifestyle, it doesn't just affect me, myself, and my family. It affects the people in my community and the people we know. And it's just very fulfilling and rewarding. And, I'm so grateful for the support and the ability to be able to do this. And I'm so grateful. So I hope you enjoy harvesting some flowers with me. Well, I just dropped off the sunflowers and delivered them to my florist for her to begin working on her orders for the weekend. And I decided I better go walk through the garden and see what's there. And there's a few things to harvest, little bits of this and that. This is what I mean. There's always these little bits and things that are often not enough to do a big batch of stuff. But there is always just these little random things. These guys are a little bit small. So yeah, this is just my little garden walkthrough. So it is time to make dinner. I am using pre-cooked meat. I had short ribs that I had cooked and put in the freezer, and some broccoli that I had blanched and put in the freezer. I have videos on both of these things. I will link them down below. These are homegrown beef and broccoli. The beef was raised by my father-in-law, and the broccoli I grew this spring with you guys. You guys got to see this broccoli grow and be preserved. So basically what I'm doing is making something really quick. I want to make lots, and I want to make it easy, and I want to cover it and be like a one pot deal that will make a bulk of food. So this is still some garlic that I harvested. They're small. They're not really small. The cloves are huge, but they only produced a couple. So I want to use these up. So to my crushed garlic, I'm adding, I think it was about 4 tablespoons initially is what I started with soy sauce. I did actually add a little bit more because I ended up adding more broccoli I realized I needed another day of lunches, so I added more broccoli to bulk it up. So I did add more than what I'm showing here. I also added some organic toasted sesame seed oil. I am not one for measuring, but I would say I probably added 3 or 4 teaspoons of toasted sesame seed oil, maybe a little bit more. Next, I added some ginger. This is organic, dried, like powdered ginger. And if I would have had fresh, I would have used fresh, grated up or minced up. But I added probably about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of this ginger. And I added more after. I didn't show it, but I did add a little bit more because I had more volume. Like I said, I added more broccoli, so I needed more sauce. And then I added some granulated onion and some granulated garlic, and I added a couple tablespoons of each of those things as well. I added about 1.5 teaspoons of black pepper. I would say I added more after too. I always just give a little bit more. This is just, I always do this to taste. I never really follow a recipe. I just don't have it in me to follow a recipe. I just dump it in and taste it, and if it tastes good, great. If it doesn't, then I add more stuff. I had a friend over one time come cook with me, and she is one for following exact directions all the time. And she stood in my kitchen and told me that I trigger her and I'm giving her anxiety. So whoopsie. I wing it. I'm a winging it kind of person. And this is just how I get it done. It gets it done and it tastes good and people eat my food. So that's all that counts, right? As long as it's edible and it fills tummies, I'm happy with that. It doesn't even have to be pretty. I'm a rustic kind of cook. I'm a rustic girl. Just winging it. So I added some honey. I would say about 1/3 cup, maybe a little bit more. And I'm just mixing it all together, getting it nice and blended in as a nice sauce. Once I add it into the beef and the broccoli, it's going to melt down and it'll all come together beautifully. So it's not a big deal, but I wanted to mix it up really well and taste it to see if it was bad or if it was good. And it was actually really good. It was very spicy. It kicked you in the teeth a little bit, but all good. Perfect. But it needed something. This. I always use a little tiny bit of chicken oxo or like a bouillon, a chicken or a beef bouillon. If I would have had beef, I would have used beef, but I used that much, about a teaspoon of bouillon in there. And that was exactly what it needed. It tasted great. I realized that I needed more broccoli. It really cooked down a lot and I wanted more bulk because I wanted this for supper tonight and I wanted to use this as leftovers for lunches. So I added more frozen broccoli, just dumped it right on in there and covered it up, let it cook down just for a few minutes till it melted. It didn't take long at all, and so then I just added the sauce, give it a good stir, and then I covered it and let it cook. I knew that there would be a lot of moisture coming out of the broccoli, and even though the sauce was quite thick, I thought that I could just cook it a little bit lower and a little bit longer. I could go do other things in the house, like get some laundry done while this was cooking. so it could reduce a little bit and thicken the sauce just on its own as it was cooking the broccoli. And it was a good call because it made a perfect texture. It was really, really good. Tyson actually ate it. My husband, he actually ate the cooked broccoli, and he does not like cooked vegetables, and he liked the texture. He actually ate the broccoli, so I was happy with that. I cooked it for maybe like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just slow and low with it like this. So the only thing I didn't like is that the beef really come apart. Like I said, it's not pretty, but it gets the job done, and it was really convenient, very hands off to do and whatnot. So I wanted to do some sesame seeds on top, so I just threw some sesame seeds on a air fryer tray and just threw it in there on air fry to toast them up, and easy peasy. So it was done. I served it on top of some rice I cooked in the quick cooker, and we had dinner. It was really good. The guys ate it. They were full, and then I made the rest into lunches. So I had leftover rice, and I used up the meatballs and spaghetti sauce that we had cooked up earlier. And I also did rice and this beef and broccoli. I had ordered on Amazon, and they had a bunch of add-ons for school stuff as snacks, and I bought them as add-ons for $2 a box. It goes a long way, and I cut them into bits and spread them out among the lunch kits, and this all goes in the freezer. They pull them out. There's a variety of different types of lunches. I don't normally add candy, but this is the first week of school, and Tyson started a new job, so I'm spoiling the guys a little bit, and they'll just choose whatever variety they want. We'll stack these up in the freezer and good to go. Really, chickens? Now there's 3 of them? Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you were inspired and you learned something. Please do like and subscribe if you are interested in some of the content that I have here for you. I do try to post once a week. In the summertime, it's a little bit busier and whatnot, but I do have content. Try to have content to you once a week, and I never know what it's gonna be, so it's just basically our lifestyle here in northern Alberta, Canada, on a hobby farm or homestead and flower farm. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed today. Thank you for being here. Much love. Bye for now. Pretty baby. So a side note, I'm kind of curious, if you're new here, please tell me where you're from, and if you are new to canning or a pro at canning and gardening, please let me know what your favorite thing is to grow and what your favorite thing is to can, and let me know how old were you? How old were you when you started canning? I'm really interested to know, because the more people I meet, the more inspiring it is to see that some people are learning this as, you know, grandmothers or great-grandmothers or grandfathers, and it's just really, I love it. I love seeing people stepping out of their comfort zone, trying something new, and it's really fulfilling. I like it. Let me know. I want to know. Tell me about you.